Hello, I'm Bruce Zimmerman, and this is the Open Line Garden Show podcast for this week. Perennials that are, let's put it this way, that deer and rabbits avoid. There's no such thing as totally resistant, but these are the ones they don't particularly like. Now, let's be honest. In the cold, snowy winter like we've had, when they get desperate, they'll eat almost anything. And I have a problem with miniature roses. My blue oatgrass, they just seem to like that. Well, we'll see. So here's some of the perennials that you should plant that are resistant, how's that, to deer and rabbits. Yucca. Now, this one is a great evergreen because it has such strong contrast in shape, etc. So you want to put this one in, but again, full sun. Veronica or Speedwell is a good one. Thyme, though I have to admit with thyme, you can, with the flowers, attract a lot of bees. So don't plant this close to where you're sitting and in activity areas for children. Stachys, lamb's ears. I mean, they're great little plants. They feel so nice and soft. Kids love them. And, of course, the deer and the rabbits avoid them. The salvia. Now, this is the perennial sages. They are resistant as well. Primula, the primrose, they don't like those either. But I always find them hard to grow. I have a very hard time growing those in my garden. Polygonatum, which is the Solomon seal. It's pretty. And to be honest, is in bloom right now. So take a look at that one. Perovskia, the Russian sage. Not my favorite perennial, but boy, it's tough. It's hardy. It gives you long bloom time. And it's sort of a bluey gray green. So it gives you good contrast, color, and of course, nice flowers as well. They don't like poppies, so try those ones. Peonies. Now, these are the herbaceous peonies. The catmint and the peta, they don't like. Monarda, bee balm. Well, I'm really glad to hear this because, let's be honest, I love Earl Grey tea, and that's where they get the oil of bergamot from. So you want to maybe plant that one. It also is great for attracting hummingbirds as well. Little problems often with mildew, so go and make sure you're planting mildew-resistant Monarda bee balms, okay? Miscanthus, now this is the maiden grass, and they are tough, they're aggressive, and they really do well, except this year. And I have heard, not only from myself in my garden, but from other gardeners, that the miscanthus are suffering very heavily after this very hard winter we've had. And I cannot believe I'd ever say this, but I think a lot of them are going to die, okay? It's just a shock. Lavender is a good one for the deer and rabbits resistance. The lamium, the creeping lamium, they don't like it. Iris, they don't like iris, but it's not the Dutch iris, it's the other irises. Hellebore, or Helleborus, that's the Christmas rose. They are great evergreen plants that don't look like one. They do eventually seed themselves in the garden, though I have to admit it's not quick. And very, very pretty when they're in bloom, and they bloom at such an unusual time. Very early spring into spring, and that's good. I have been told they will bloom from November on, but in our area, they basically do it from March on. Gaillardia, blanket flower. Not my favorite, but hey, if the deer and the rabbits don't like them, great. Ferns, most of the garden ferns, they don't like. Though I have seen them use it as bedding for sleeping. So, the deer in particular may come and visit you because you've got a nice place to sleep. Euphorbia, the spurges, good ones. Just watch out for any of those that are invasive. Eupatorium, Joe Pyeweed, little large, but they attract butterflies, hummingbirds, etc. And definitely a good plant, a native. And don't plant the variegated green and white one and the white flowered one. Always plant the colored foliage ones. You'll find they attract the butterflies much, much better. Epimedium for semi-shade or dappled shade. Nice ground cover. A little bit of flowers. Sometimes some nice colored leaves on them. But not well known. They don't like that one. Digitalis or foxglove. Let's be honest. There's a reason here. That's the same drug that you use when you have heart problems. So it comes from the root. So I'm sure the plant itself will be resistant to both deer and rabbits. They're not stupid. They've got it worked out. Dicentra or bleeding hearts. There's quite a few different ones, and we recommend that you try them. They do have a tendency to yellow and die down and disappear in midsummer. So be prepared for that. You may want to plant something in front so that there isn't a bare spot in your garden and right smack dab in the middle of summer. Coreopsis or thick seed. There's quite a few of these ones. My favorite is Zagreb. Moonbeam is another great one. They don't like those ones. And they're tough. A little bit sometimes susceptible to mildew, but plant them where there's sunshine and air movement, and you should be good to go. Semicifuga, bugbane, snake root, whatever you want to call this one. There's some really good dark purpley black forms as well as the green forms. And they have an interesting flowers on them. So there's a good selection here to give you some interest in the mid-size part of your mixed border. Where Joe Pye weed will be at the back, the semicifugas will be a little bit farther forward, depending on which variety that you do get. Calamagrostis or feather reed grass. These ones are tough. Mine have come through the winter when the miscanthus didn't this year. So definitely one that you could take up and plant into your garden. Buddleia, now butterfly bush. This one surprised me because I didn't think it was that tough. And of course, you get some winter dieback. You have to trim them back down, each year to keep them under control. But the deer and the rabbits don't like them. So that's a good one. Brunaria, there's a lot of good varieties. The variegated, Jack Frost, and many others that are good. But they do have a tendency to seed themselves. When they do seed themselves, all the ones that are in my garden, when they seed themselves, become the same plain green. So just watch out. They can get a little invasive. The seed does move around, and you'll get to the point where you'll recognize a young Brunaria coming up, and you'll pull it out where you don't really want it. But the flowers in the spring look like forget-me-nots, and really quite pretty. Bergenia, or pig squeak is another name for it. An evergreen, big, thick, cabbage-like leaves, often with the winter color of red or scarlet. Flowers are white, pink, red. I've seen some lavender ones as well. So take a look at that one. It does not like heavy, wet clay soils, so don't do that one. But the deer and the rabbits, leave it alone. Baptista, the false indigo, doesn't like to move, okay? So once you plant this one, it's basically about a mid-border height, okay? But nice blue flowers. They do use it in dyeing the color, so I can see it being quite popular with people who make and spin their own yarns. Astilbe. Now, astilbe is a very useful plant. It's very versatile. The deer and the rabbits don't like it. You get short ones, medium ones, tall ones, white, pink, or red. They can go into shade, semi-shade, full sun, as long as there's good, rich, organic, well-drained soil that is moist. And that's the secret right there. Wormwood or Artemisia, they don't like. Aquilegia or columbine, seeds themselves put a couple different colors in. You'll always be surprised what color will come up, and they do spread, so do control where they actually seed themselves. Ajuga or carpet bugleweed, you're going to find that this one does get escape in some areas. In some areas, you just won't grow this one. But in our area, it makes a pretty good ground cover where you have good, rich, moist, semi-shaded ground. So you don't want them out in full sun. They do have a tendency to burn, a little harder to look after. Stick with the plain old purple one if you're into rough conditions. But there are variegated ones, some with pink in them, some with white, etc. Some with silver, and there's even a strange one with the gnarled leaves that are blackish purple. It looks like a blackish purple brain, but harder to grow as well. Agapanthus, lily of the Nile. This is a corm or a bulb that you're going to have to bring in for the winter and store inside. But it'll give you those umbels of blue flowers, great in containers as an accent as well, mixed in with other plants. Aconitum monkshood, don't want to recommend this one simply because all parts of the plant are poisonous, and I do mean poisonous, but it's the deer and the rabbits aren't too stupid. They know, they figured that one out. But the last one, the Achillea. Now, Achillea or yarrow comes in the brick, the pink, white, yellow. Cloth of gold is one of the oldest ones around. It's got to be 40, 50 years old by now. But there's a lot of them, different heights, slightly different blooming times, some longer, some shorter, some different colors. But take a look at these. They are resistant. They're easy to grow. And they can give you some interest with their softer foliage as well as the color of the flowers. So there are some perennials that you can use where deer and rabbits are a bit of a problem. Now, they will resist, but when they're hungry, remember, deer and rabbits will eat almost anything. I'm Bruce Zimmerman. This is the Open Line Garden Show podcast for this week.